These are the ones who didn't wait for a seat at the table. The visionaries, the builders, the leaders who move fast and turn obstacles into opportunities. Stories of vision and resolve, of risk taken and limits broken. The grit, the courage, and the moments that changed everything. Welcome to the table.
Rob Witzel, welcome to the table.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm so excited to have you. For those who don't know you, can we talk a little bit about what you do?
Sure.
And how you got here?
Yeah, so I am an author. I've written 2 middle grade children's books called Super Penguin and Super Penguin 2. And they are superhero stories set in a world where all the characters are animals. So if you imagine the Avengers mixed with something like Zootopia or Kung Fu Panda, that's essentially what Super Penguin is. It's an action-adventure story, lots of humor sprinkled in. And I tried to write it in a way that it's fun for all ages of superhero fans. So if a mom and dad are reading it with their kid or to their kid, it's fun for everybody.
So what made you want to get into this in the first place?
I always loved writing. I went to school for journalism and figured out at that time in my life I didn't really like talking to strangers, which as a journalist would be something that is required of the job. And I just fell into that, 19, 20-year-old that didn't know what he wanted to do. Now, before that, back in high school, I wasn't a great student. So I would, every year I had study hall, and in study hall, you're supposed to do your homework and you're supposed to study for an upcoming test. And instead I would doodle really horrible drawings. I do not have an artistic gift with that kind of media, but I would doodle, and I doodled a penguin because it was easy to draw. I doodled a cape on him because I thought it was silly and funny. That kind of evolved into a comic strip of sorts, and shared it with my friends. They laughed at it. Peer pressure set in. I kept going back to study hall, kept not studying and not doing my homework and drawing instead. And the character never really left me. So fast forward a few years when I'm in college, don't know what I want to do. Super Penguin was still kind of there, still something I would doodle in notebooks. I went to work for my parents at McDonald's and would still, in a meeting or something, doodle Super Penguin. And I just got to a place where I loved the people I was working with in the fast food industry, but I wasn't happy waking up every day going to it. And at one point just felt like, I need to do something else. I need to figure out what that something else is. And it just kind of popped in my head that Super Penguin was that something else, and try to figure out how to make it into something that I could build a career out of.
Yeah. What's the premise of the story with Super Penguin?
So the first book, it's a superhero origin story. So you kind of watch the character Super Penguin. His real name is Paul Frost, and you watch him in this world kind of fall into a situation where he thinks he needs to step up and take on a big evil bad guy. And then in book 2, he really focuses on like how to control his powers, how to be better, how to be stronger. And some of the themes in them, I think that are great for kids are, it doesn't matter how small you are or how little you are, you can make a big difference in the world, and you can do big things, even if you're a tiny little penguin.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much. You said that this is for middle school age kids specifically?
So that's the category it falls into.
Yeah.
When I wrote it, as a parent, I hated reading books that I got bored with. Because I knew that if I couldn't enjoy it, as I'm reading it to my kid, they're probably going to get that they're going to sense my unenjoyment.
Yeah.
And so I just wrote kind of how I talk, how I communicate with my son. My wife and I, we never did baby talk. We never did that. We talked to him like a person. Mm-hmm. And so I do that in my story. I talk to the kids like a person. Obviously there's nothing inappropriate in there, a little bit of violence, but nothing worse than like a Looney Tunes cartoon. Okay. But, there's little pop culture references in there that are for the grown-ups, and little humor, dad joke type things that'll go over a kid's head, but mom and dad will enjoy while they're reading it too.
Yeah, so it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, so when you're writing, what is the part that you get most excited about first?
I think coming up with characters.
Yeah.
As a kid, I didn't love to read, but I loved characters. I loved Star Wars, especially R2-D2 and Chewbacca, which were two characters that couldn't even talk, but they had so much charisma and so much it was easy to fall in love with them. I was a big X-Men fan. I loved the superheroes, especially Wolverine. And so, yeah, so being someone that loved characters, an opportunity to create my own, and I would take little pieces of some of my favorite characters and combine them into these new ones. And as you create them, you kind of, even the bad guys, you kind of have like a heart for all of them. They start to feel like family members and friends instead of just things in your imagination. And so taking that time to do it, I put a lot of thought into it. I just don't cherry pick a name out of the air. So for example, Paul Frost is a pun with ice and penguin things, but I'm also a big Beatles fan. So I took Paul McCartney, kind of plugged him into that. So I took a lot of the little things that I love and plugged it into those things.
I love the thought behind the process. That's really cool. Why do you think that people would be most drawn to these novels at this point? Who's your target audience, I guess?
Yeah, I think just superhero fans in general. The superhero world has been around now for, near 100 years. And so it's something new, something different. There's not a ton of superhero stuff in the novel space as much as there is in the comic book space. So it is something different there too. Yeah.
Can we talk about the difference between your novels and comic books?
Sure. Yeah. So comic book or even like a graphic novel, it's pictures throughout. You get dialogue, but you don't really have a narrator and a story. And so mine is prose. It's about 100 pages long. Katie Weston's my illustrator. She has about 20 to 25 illustrations in both books. But you're getting, words and stuff more than you would in a comic book.
Yeah, I love that you're working with Katie because she is so talented.
She's the best.
How has being part of this community influenced how you write?
Growing up, I saw how much the arts thrived in this community. Going back to the actors we had with the Van Dykes and Gene Hackman, and then later in high school, Matthew Stover is another author from the Danville area. He did the novelization for a lot of the Star Wars books, particularly Revenge of the Sith.
Did he really?
Yeah, and I just thought that was so cool that a kid from Danville got to do that when he grew up. And so I think it kind of unlocked like anything's possible mentality that not every community gets. I think some people think that their community is a dead end and they can't do anything, and I've never felt that about Danville. I felt there's been so many great things that have come through Danville or started in Danville that it motivated me to try to be the next one. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about Danville?
The people.
Yeah.
I think there's, it's like a neighborhood mentality, but all over the place. Like you don't have to live across the street or next door to someone to feel that neighborly love. And the friendships we've made have turned into more like family. And it's just, I love the community. Yeah,
I agree. At this point in your life, what does success look like for you as an author?
I think the biggest thing for me, and kind of going back to even like the McDonald's stuff, is just waking up happy, waking up every day and loving what I'm doing, not waking up and sighing that I have to put on a uniform and go to work. I think just that love of what I'm doing and love of life and not having that burden on me every day.
Yeah. I don't know. You were just like, I don't want to wake up and sigh.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, that is how I feel about it as well. Being tied to like a Microsoft Teams, every time one of those dings comes through, oh my gosh, what do they need? Yeah. Stuff like that. So.
Well, and at McDonald's, I was on call every day. They're open 20 hours, 22 hours a day. There's people in the building. And so I can tell you how many times I get woken up to a phone call at 4 a.m. because someone forgot their keys, or it's my day off and 6 people didn't show up, so I need to go in and help. And that, not having that piece of it, it is a little bit lonelier. I miss a lot of the people because, again, just like the community, like there was a community within that restaurant and those restaurants that felt like family too, and they still are. But it is nice not to have some of those just headaches that used to exist every day.
Yeah, I feel like you have your peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, can we talk about a story, specifically where you're like, this is why I do what I do?
So, one of the amazing things that has happened in this whole process, I refer to them as ripple effects. So when I started writing, I was putting on a story that I thought was funny and fun and would entertain a 10-year-old version of me. I was someone that struggled to read because of ADD, and just I'd open up a book and I'd struggle to focus on the words. And so that's all my goal was. So after the first book came out, and District 118 had bought a bunch and given them to their 5th and 6th graders. Yeah.
Oh, that's
but they so they gave them to their 5th and 6th graders, and I got feedback from a mom who had sent me a really sweet message that her daughter's dyslexic. She hated to read. It was too hard. It frustrated her. She read Super Penguin, loved it.
Yeah.
And that sparked a love in her for reading. And then what was weird was like there were 3 or 4 more over the next 6 months to a year of parent stories that were the same thing. Like their kid was dyslexic. For whatever reason, how I wrote it, my style, something, I had no intentionality behind it. I had no strategy behind, I'm going to write this book to help dyslexic kids, but it was just this weird ripple effect that kind of came from that has been super rewarding. That, some of these kids that, struggled. And when you talk about dyslexia, especially, people think, oh, it's hard to read. But in reality, like the ripple effects that dyslexia can has on a kid with their self-esteem and their self-worth, and that turns into, making bad decisions and, suicide and ending up in prison. Like, I think it's something like 1 out of 5 dyslexic kids ends up either dead by suicide or in prison.
Really?
And there's so many statistics out there you can look up of how much of our prisons have people that are either illiterate or dyslexic in them. So many suicide notes that have signs of dyslexia and illiteracy in the know. And so to be able to kind of help someone that has that, knowing where they could end up, that's been like such a rewarding ripple effect that, if Super Penguin never gets off the ground and becomes the next Harry Potter, but I helped a handful of kids and in a positive way, that's success to me.
I love that so much. What would you say to someone who is just starting out in this space, who maybe wants to do what you do?
Patience is huge. Self-belief has to be huge. It's so easy to hear that voice in your head that says you're not going to do it. Nobody's going to care about this stupid thing. I felt that a ton. Every time I'd sit down and write, there was a little voice like, it's a penguin in a cape. Nobody's going to care. It's silly. It's dumb. Close your computer, go do something else. And fight through those voices and find a way to drown them out with something more positive, and keep writing, because you don't know what kind of ripple effect your story can have on someone else.
Yeah, it does matter. People do care.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What is your why behind all of this? Like, what drives you every day to write?
It's just the love of doing it.
Yeah.
And I think kind of going back to, loving your job and loving your career, like it's fun for me to sit at my computer and play pretend for a couple hours and knock out 1,000 or 2,000 words. Mm-hmm. And then to share it with somebody, and then to, go to a Comic-Con or a book festival, places that I went as fans, to be on the other side of the table. Just the whole thing is fun, and I'm enjoying it. And there's, other than like, tax season and accounting, I love every bit of what I'm doing in the Super Penguin space, from the social media things and all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't see that an author has to do. I love the whole process. And so it's just having fun is what's been driving me.
It's most important.
Yeah.
Okay, which Comic-Cons do you typically go to, or book festivals? What's around here? I've never heard of any.
So we bounce around quite a bit. Indy Comic-Con, Indianapolis, has one every year, usually in the summertime, but it's ranged anywhere from March to August. There's a handful of them in Chicago, Fan Expo and C2E2. One of my favorite ones is called Superman Celebration down in Metropolis, Illinois, which is just it's a very small town. I'm not sure it's no bigger than any of them in Vermilion County, and but just a bunch of people that from all over the country that love Superman show up, and so that one's a lot of fun. And then we bounce around some other places. We'll go down to Tampa for the second time this year. We'll go to Ohio, Iowa. We did our first convention in Wisconsin outside Milwaukee last month, and so we really bounce around a lot of different places in the Midwest, but most major cities nowadays have some sort of Comic-Con or book festival that we can attend.
How often do you travel to these?
It's kind of sporadic.
Yeah.
Winter time, because the roads and stuff, and you never know what's going to happen with the weather. We usually take some time off. 1 to 3 a month, usually from like March till September.
Yeah. Do you bring Katie with you?
She's met up there a couple times.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
once last year in Bloomington, she represented us. And I know this year upcoming, I think in Elkhart, she's going to have a table as well. But usually I bring my best friend Gardner. He's, I jokingly call him my sidekick. And so he goes with me and helps sell the books, and pretty good salesman. I think he prefers the Danville metal world, but he does a good job for me, helping me sell the books. And every once in a while I'll take my son Parker, and he is exceptional at selling books. There's been a couple grandmas that I think had no intention of buying the book until he started talking to them, and then just with his 4-year-old charm was able to get him to make the purchase.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about your best friend. What kind of support have you received from your community, but specifically him?
Yeah, so him and his wife Cindy have both been huge. Cindy's an English major, so when it came time to editing, she was gigantic in helping that. And it's weird. I talked a little bit about like the kind of self-doubt earlier. Like, they're two friends of mine that they would take a bullet for me. I would do the same for them. They're family, and because of like the insecurity in myself and the self-doubt, like I was terrified to give them my first draft of my first book to like share it with them. Eventually worked through that. They read it, gave me tons of great feedback, tons of support, encouragement, all those things that helped kind of drown out that negative voice in my head. You know, and then on top of, you know, Gardner going to conventions, leaving his family for 2 or 3 days to hang out with me and sell books. Those kind of actions speak louder than words, and they've shown me so much love and support.
Yeah, they sound like excellent friends.
They're the best of friends.
Yeah, I love that. So what advice do you have to people to build a community like that? It sounds like you've done a really good job.
I think it starts with being a good person. Be the kind of friend that someone wants to be a friend to. Treat people with kindness. And if you do all those things, I believe those things will come back to you, and you know, surround yourself with those kind of people that love you back. Yeah. And then you can do whatever, anything's possible at that point.
I love that. Okay, I have one more question for you. This is separate from the one that I asked earlier, but it is similar. So how do you define success in a way that most people would disagree with? Not necessarily in work or career, but just in general, maybe personally for your life. Like, yeah.
I think it's a really good question. I think so many people chase the money. Like they chase dollar signs, they chase stuff. And that stuff like looks cool to show off, but it doesn't make you feel good at the end of the day. And so, and if it is something that, you know, if you really like boating and you want to get a really nice boat, go get the boat. Like, don't do it because you want to show off to your friend, do it because you love that thing. But I think just chase happiness, chase love, chase friendship, not the material stuff, because those things fade away and the other stuff doesn't. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, so if people are looking to find you, purchase your books, meet up with you, even have you on their podcast, where do they find you?
Yeah, so my website is superpenguinbook.com. On there you have my online store, as well as our tour dates. So we're going to go all over the Midwest and in the South this year. I think we're in like 10 different states. So even if you're not local, there's a chance that Super Penguin might be down the street from me at some point. So check those out. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, and TikTok. And so whatever your favorite social media is, you can follow Super Penguin there.
What's the handle for Instagram and TikTok?
Super Penguin Book.
Book. Okay, got it. Perfect. Sounds good. All right. Well, that's all that I have for you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.